afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Foreign Correspondents Club of Japan. I am Khatun Azari, I'm the president of this club, and have the great honor to welcome our guest speaker today, Defense Minister Taro. He is making a remarkable breakthrough today by becoming the first cabinet minister to talk here in nearly 7 years. We have some reports that the cabinet ministers and also the Prime Minister, Mr. Shinzo Abe, are kind of boycotting, if you will, the club. And we don't know the reasons. We try to find out, but today is really the first solution to this issue because we are the global hub here for Japan. Any news about Japan mostly comes from here. So we would like the government of Japan to support this and give us some attention more than before. But today we are very honored to have Mr. Kono giving that. Of course, Minister Kono doesn't need any introduction as he's always at the center of news in Japan. Currently, he is, of course, the defense minister, and he has been running the ministry in his usual foresight style. We all were impressed by his January 22nd bungee jump and also SDF training and also the parachute training. That's really remarkable performance by a defense minister. His latest surprise, if you want to call it that, was the announcement that Japan is canceling deployment of Aegis Ashore on land. Also, Minister Kono was the foreign minister prior to his current post. Some are whispering his next post might be at the Kantei. We don't know yet, but the polls are indicating this very strongly recently. This is for some is only a natural development for a descendant of a well-known political family. His father, Yuhei Kono, was instrumental in making Japanese great policies in the government as a Minister of Foreign Affairs and also, I think, Secretary General of the LDP. Of course, also, I personally covered a lot of Minister Kono's activities and statements on the Middle East peace process and assistance to Palestinians. He was very influential in really making the region more peaceful than it sounds. Last but not least, at the FCCJ, we are proud here to have a true friend for journalists in the Japanese cabinet. I attended many press conferences at the Foreign Ministry, and Minister Kono was replying in English. That's very encouraging for us, and he just told me at the anteroom that he is welcoming also attendance by foreign media in the Defense Ministry, and he will take questions and reply in English. That's really very good icebreaker for us. We don't need to pay the expensive translators. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest speaker, Defense Minister Taro.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for inviting me over to your new facility. I've been to your old ones and I kind of loved it. You had a very good restaurant, and I hope your restaurant here is as good as the other one. You can hire me as my interpreter anytime. I would translate myself. I moved to Defense Ministry last year from Foreign Affairs, and I always tell people that my budget increased almost 5-6 times instantly, and I was quite happy because when I was a foreign minister, I was always asking, buy me an airplane so I can travel more freely. And now I moved to Defense Ministry, I get quite a few number of airplanes, from F-35 to helicopters. But then what happened is COVID-19, and I'm not allowed to travel abroad. Well, my budget increased significantly, but I realized it's much tighter in Defense Ministry than the Foreign Affairs Ministry. If you look around the region, many countries has been increasing their defense spending, and it's been increasing quite drastically. But for just about 20 years, Japan's defense spending is just about a flat. People talk about the defense spending this year is like the largest in the history of Japan. But if you compare that to the other countries, it's insignificant. And we really need to be careful how we're going to prioritize what we purchase at Defense Ministry. Back in 1991, if you look at China then, they didn't have any so-called fourth generation, fifth generation fighter jet. They didn't have any modern submarines or frigate. But now their fourth generation, fifth generation fighter jet, they have more than 1,000 fighter jets compared to a little over 300 in self-defense force. So there's a big gap in defense spending between Japan and China. And if you look at the fighter jets, submarines, frigates, destroyers, there's a big gap in it. And well, you need to assess others with capability and intention. Right now, what's happening in East China Sea, our fighter jets scramble against the Chinese airplanes almost every day, sometimes more than once. And their ships.
サンスターのオーラルヘルス。
口内環境コントロール始めませんか？歯周病菌を含む口内細菌は血管などに入ると病気のリスクも。
口から始める健康習慣。オーラルケアからオーラルヘルスへ。サンスター。
働いているなんてね。小さい頃は私のそばを離れなかったね。来月から就職か。初めての社会人は大変だよね。
ちゃんと届けてもらわないと困るんだよ。伝えたよね。
申し訳ございません。おかえり。ご飯はいらない。寝る。心配で眠れない日もあったよ。姿を見ると。
あんただよ。
こんにちは。
相談なんだけど、ちょっとこっちで話そうか。
信じてよかったなと思うよ。
よろしくな。
はい、ありがとうございます。こんにちは、佐川急便です。お荷物お届けに参りました。私はいつまでもあなたの味方です。
君の未来へ続く仕事、ここにあります。佐川急便。
With guns, trying to violate our territorial water constantly, and our Coast Guard is doing great job near Senkaku Island. I announced that a submarine that going through near our territorial water was Chinese. We don't usually make announcement about submarines. We don't even tell if we recognize there's a submarine or not. But I think sometimes we need to raise the awareness of what's going on around Japan. So I made an announcement, which is kind of unusual, but I felt we had to. What's going on in South China Sea is also alarming. There are some Vietnamese fishing boat sunk by Chinese. There's a lot going on in South China Sea, and what's happening in Hong Kong. Well, the two systems in one country is sort of eroding. What's going on between the China-India border, we need to pay much closer attention to it. So I think we need to carefully monitor intention of China, not only their capability, but we need to pay attention to their intention as well. Well, I've been speaking with defense ministers of UK, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Australia, Canada, Papua New Guinea, Singapore. I'm missing something. But in many countries, their armed forces are doing something to counter COVID-19 in their countries. In Japan, the self-defense force has been answering the call for the help. We went in the Diamond Princess. Now it has become very famous. In order to take care of the people on the ship and off the ship, we sent in almost 5,000 self-defense force members in total. And then we have been helping the Ministry of Welfare and Health at the international airport like Haneda, Narita, Kansai. We are providing support to those who have been infected with COVID-19 hotels and other facilities. And quite a few self-defense force members been involved in this task against the COVID-19, and I'm very proud to say none of the self-defense force members have been infected with coronavirus. That tells you how they strictly follow the regulation and orders, and that's why all the governors are now calling in a self-defense force member to teach people there or some corporation how to protect people there from COVID-19, and we are very proud to do that. Now we are entering in the rainy season, and we sort of seeing heavier rains coming in, and I think the typhoons are getting stronger and stronger every year, so we need to be prepared for natural disasters as well. So how are we going to balance our self-defense force duty to protect the country, our territory, and lives of the people, and how are we going to deal with the natural disaster and the COVID-19? That's something new, and we really need to be carefully balance what we do, because usually typhoon comes in September, October. That's when self-defense force usually have a big exercise. Last year we were not able to complete all those exercises because the self-defense force had to go in to rescue people and provide support for those who suffer from the rains and typhoons. So I think all over the world, all the military people are paying more and more attention to climate change, or rather climate crisis, and the self-defense force is no exception. So the fight against the climate crisis has become one of our duty here in Japan as well. Well, I could go on and talk about so many issues, but Jimbo-san told me I shouldn't talk more than 10 minutes so I can take more questions from the floor. So I will stop here and ask me questions, and if I'm able to answer, I will. If I'm not, sorry.
Thank you very much. We start with By the way, we will finish sharp at 4:55 because Mr. Kona has to leave. He has limited time. Thank you.
Richard Lloyd Parry of the Times. Thank you very much for coming here today. You've been reported today as having said that after the cancellation of Aegis Ashore, one of the possibilities being considered is that Japan will acquire the power and the authority to make preemptive strikes on a potential aggressor. So the first question is that true? And then what is the thinking behind that? And how do you reconcile that with Japan's defensive security position over the last 75 years?
質問の方はすいませんが日本語に訳させていただきます。タイム誌のリチャード・ロイド・ペリーと申します。本日報道されていることなんですけれども、イージス・アショアの、キャンセルになってからは日本は、先制攻撃をする能力を検討するというようなことが発言として報道されているんですけれども、それについて、まずそれが正しいかどうか、そしてそれについての、その背景にある考え方、その理由などについて教えてください。また日本がですね、70年以上もずっと貿易のみというもうずっと戦略を取ってきたということなんですが、それをどういうふうに考えるのかについてコメントをお願いします。光栄ですね。すいません。はい。
The answer is no, I didn't say that. I said we had to cancel the installment of Aegis Ashore. We found out we couldn't control where the booster would fall, and we promised the local community that we will control where the booster goes down, and we found out we are not able to do that, so we couldn't move ahead with this Aegis Ashore project, so had to cancel it. But still, there's a threat coming from North Korea. They have so many ballistic missiles, and we have experienced that some of them are flying over Japan, and we need to protect people here. And so we will discuss how we can protect Japan and the people living in Japan from the ballistic missiles. Well, not only the ballistic missiles, some other technology that they are acquiring.
Thank you. Pio? Okay.
Thank you so much. My name is Kosuke Takahashi, Tokyo correspondent of the Jane's Defense Weekly in UK. Can I ask very short three questions? Very quick. Only one? Okay, only one. Okay. Defense Minister Kono, you said the reason why Tokyo decided to cancel the Aegis Ashore deployment plan is you can't promise the rocket booster will surely fall into the JGSDF Mutsumi site. Many people doubt this is the only true reason. How about the PAC-3, Patriot 3? For example, the PAC-3 is located in Ichigaya, and then if we launch the PAC-3, the debris will fall into the densely populated area of the Tokyo. So why you only cite the Aegis Ashore, not citing the PAC-3? Could you explain about this point? Thank you.
はい、質問日本語で要約させていただきます。今回ですね、イージス・アショアの、計画をキャンセルしたという理由は、やはりどこで落ちるのかという、やはり基地内で絶対に落ちるということが、保証できない、約束できないというような理由が挙げられているんですが、他にも理由があるというふうに考えられています。でそれはPAC-3の、市ヶ谷という東京の、中心にあることと比較しますと、やはり他の理由もあり得るのではないかということが検討されるんですけれども、それについてのコメントをお願いします。
The only reason we had to stop the deployment of Aegis ashore is we are not able to control where the booster might fall. That's the only reason. And it's because we have promised that to the local community, and we cannot keep it, so we had to cancel the deployment. Well, we have no commitment on PAC-3.
Tim Kelly from Reuters. Thank you for coming today. I'd like to follow up on Richard's question from the Times. When the National Security Council meets over the summer to discuss options for what Japan will do for missile defense, is a preemptive strike capability one of the options that will be considered by the National Security Council?
はい、ロイターズのケリと申します。今年の夏にですね、NSC が、今後のミサイル貿易のオプション、選択肢について検討することになると思うんですけれども、その時に先制攻撃、敵の攻撃の能力などについて検討されるでしょうか。
I cannot speak for the National Security Council, but I don't think we are excluding any option before discussion. I don't know if preemptive is the right concept. People now talking about preemptive strike. I don't know if they are using the term correctly, or I'm not sure if they are defining the meaning of that correctly. I don't think we are excluding anything before we start the discussion. The Liberal Democratic Party is setting up a task force, and they saying that they're going to put that on the table. So we'll see how it turns out. Andy?
Good afternoon, this is Andy Sharp from the Nikkei Asian Review. Thank you for coming to the club. First Minister in 6 or 7 years, as Caldon said. First question is on that. I mean, is there a ban on ministers attending the club? And if there is, or even if there isn't, what was your decision? Why did you make this decision to come to the club today to speak? Is it part of some campaign to become one day the Prime Minister? To take over from Mr. Abe. And my second question is, could you just give me a quick evaluation of the 7 years of the Abe administration? Thank you.
2つほど質問があります。まず司会の紹介には数年ぶりに、現役の大臣がこちらに記者協会の方に来られたという紹介があったと思うんですけれども、なぜ本日の理由をぜひ教えていただければと思います。
その前にまずそもそも安倍政権は、閣僚を来ることを禁止しているというバンが実際にあるのかというのがまず質問の1問目で、2問目がそれなのになぜ河野さんは来られたのかというのが最初の質問ですね。はい、ごめんなさい。はい、
すみません。そしてちょっと順番を書いてたんですけど、すみません。そして本日来られるように決められた中にはやはり将来にはですね、総理大臣になるようなキャンペーンを検討されているかどうかについてのコメントをお願いします。そして2つ目の質問の方なんですけれども、安倍政権のここまでの7年間をどういうふうに評価されているのかについて教えてください。
Well, ever since I was first elected to the parliament October 20th, 1996, I'm running for the Prime Minister. Not successfully yet. Well, if it's banned to come here, maybe I should leave. I've been to FCCJ 3-4 times?
Yeah, more than that.
Right. I mean, you guys usually give me sort of a short-term membership so I could go to the restaurant afterwards, right? And that's what I love.
You want to do too?
Oh, okay, great. So I'll keep coming back then. The Prime Minister, Abe, I think he's now the longest serving Prime Minister in this country. And I think he's done quite good. Abenomics turned around deflation to sort of a normal trajectory of the economy. We have done a state secret law. We changed what do you call the so-called peace security laws. I don't know how you translate Heiwa Anzen Hosei. Security laws. And now we are able to work with the United States seamlessly from gray zone to more pressing issues. He's been doing quite well managing the relationship with President Trump, and he has made some significant amendment to laws in many fields. So I think he's got quite legacy. The only thing is Paralympic Games. Hopefully we can do that next year. It depends on the COVID-19. We'll see how it happens.
Thank you for coming. I have one question.
Your name, please.
Yeah, my name is Nakano. I'm freelance. Japan's defense ministry is beefing up cybersecurity these days, but Japan's cybersecurity ability is obviously far behind countries like the US, Russia, and China. So my question is, how do you think Japan can compete with those countries in the future? Thank you.
フリーランスの中野です。サイバーセキュリティについての質問なんですけども、日本は最近です、強化されていると言ってもですね、まだやはりアメリカ、ロシア、そして中国に比べては遅れているというふうに言えると思います。今後どういうふうにそのサイバーセキュリティの分野において競争力といいますか、今後やっていく予定なのかについて教えてください。
Yes, we are starting out cyber space, electromagnetic field, and things like that. We need a lot to catch up. And in cyber field, I think we need to recruit good people with technology. We need to train them. We need to hire them. And well, we got to do a lot of things. So we just started sort of baby step right now, and it will take some time to catch up with the capability of the United States and China. Now we are allowed to hire people with much higher pay line. We're still not able to find the right people to do that. We are talking to several universities and several corporations for training our personnel. So we will try to do the best we can and hopefully do that. The same thing, we just started cyber operation squadron. We're just starting out with a couple dozen people, and we hope to increase the number of it. Well, then we need to shift the resource from the existing field to new field. As I said at the beginning, our budget's very tight. So in order to shift the resource, we really need to prioritize what we're going to do or what we're going to procure. And it's not easy, but that's something we really have to do. I mean, if you look at the budget situation, the budget deficit situation of this country, I don't think anyone's expecting our defense budget goes up drastically for next couple of years. So prioritization is the key for success, I guess.
Thank you. I would like to ask a question we received by email. We have this system now. It's from Ms. Isabel Reynolds of Bloomberg News. They are really short questions. First one, with the cancellation of the Aegis Ashore missile defense system, does it also mean the cancellation of the $3.3 billion contract for Raytheon interceptors announced by the State Department last year? That's first question. And then second question, if you read John Bolton memoir, he said that the Trump administration demanded $8 billion annually for host nation support, what's the so-called sympathy budget. Is that true? Thank you.
We have been talking with the United States how to improve our ballistic missile defense capability or integrated air missile defense capability. So we are trying to make maximum use of what we have contracted with the United States. How are we going to do that? We still need to look into it. So it doesn't really mean outright cancellation. I wanted to buy Mr. Bolton's book, so I access to Amazon. It's sold out, so I downloaded to my Kindle, and well, I'm not good at using Kindle. I haven't finished the book yet, but we haven't really started out the negotiation on the host nation support. We haven't really heard anything from United States about those issues.
Thank you, Patrick.
Patrick Welte, Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung. One question about North Korea. Can you describe how you see the North Korean threat, how it has developed over the last years, and what do you make out of the current events coming out of North Korea? And second, when you said earlier that you're not sure if the term preemptive strike capability is the right term, can you define what you think is the right term for these capabilities?
はい、2つほど質問です。1つ目、北朝鮮の脅威をどういうふうに分析されているのか、どういうふうに見られているのかについてお願いします。特にここ最近の動き、ここ数年の動き、そして今最近の変化などについてどういうふうに評価されているのかについてのコメントをお願いします。そして2つ目の方は、先制攻撃というのは正しい定義ではないというようなご発言が先ほどあったんですけれども、もしそうであれば具体的にどういうふうに定義されるべきなのかについてのご意見をお願いします。
Well, we are trying to find out what's going on in North Korea. Recent movement is quite, what's the right word? Quite strange. I don't know, strange is a good word. We suspect, number one, the COVID-19 is spreading around North Korea as well, and Kim Jong-un is trying not to infect it by COVID-19. So sometimes he doesn't come in public. Number two, we have some suspicion about his health. Thirdly, the harvest last year in North Korea wasn't quite good or bad actually, or the economy in North Korea is not doing well. So Kim Jong-un or his regime needs some scapegoat so that people would look outside of North Korea. So it could be possible that's why they're so harsh on ROK government right now. So we are trying to gather information and analyze it and see what's really going on in North Korea. We have been talking to United States and other countries. We are exchanging information about that. The discussion in NSC will be obviously within constitutional framework, and we have set policy regarding the security issues. So the discussion will be within the boundary of that. People casually say preemptive, and some people really not defining the term correctly or precisely. So you gotta ask them what they actually mean by whatever they are saying.
Thank you. You?
Hi, Piero Emilia from Italy Sky TG24. Again, thank you very much for joining us today. My question is not about the incumbent Kono. It's more about the past Kono and possibly the future Kono. I'm talking about the nuclear issue. You may remember how many times we met many years ago talking about the need of Japan to phase out the nuclear power. And I don't want to put you in a difficult situation now, since you are a member of this government that officially promotes nuclear power again. But let's imagine that it is true what we hear, that Kono Sensei becomes Prime Minister. Then would this issue become a priority again for you? Could you tell us what is the future of Japan? If I say that Japan is little by little phasing out and possibly going toward denuclearization, I mean, Tatsu Genpatsu, what would you answer? Thank you.
はい、こちらの質問は、現在の河野先生というのを確保、そして将来の河野先生の立場についてぜひお伺いしたいんですけれども、将来ですね、もし総理大臣になられた場合に、また原発という問題が再びまた、優先の高い課題として考えられるのか、そして日本の将来的にはやはり脱原発という選択肢を具体的に検討されるのかについてお願いします。
The Prime Minister Kono will be happy to come back here and take questions.
Yes. It's a promise.
Thank you. Teddy, go ahead. Teddy, you have a question, you said?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
sure,
go ahead.
sure. Okay. Kono-san may not be expecting such a sort of domestic-oriented question at the FCCJ, but this decision to scrap the Aegis ashore took a kind of unusual path in the sort of Japanese decision-making process. The LDP apparently wasn't informed or pre-consulted about it at all, and some members are very angry at you. So my question is, why did you choose to do it that way? Why did you keep it secret from say called relevant parties, and then you suddenly just went on to announce it yourself? And as a follow-up, I assume you consulted at least with Prime Minister Abe. I want to confirm that if you did consult with Prime Minister Abe and what his reaction was, and also did you also consult with any of your counterpart in the United States about this scrapping the Aegis ashore plan? Thank you.
イージス・アショアのキャンセルするという決断に至るプロセスについてなんですけれども、日本の政治として、決定のプロセスとしては非常に珍しいような過程だったというふうに考えられます。事前に自民党の方で相談するというよりも独自で発表されたというような経緯だったと思うんですけど、なぜこういうようなやり方を選ばれたのかについて、そして2つ目としては事前には総理とは相談されたかと思うんですけれども、それがそうであるかどうかという確認をさせていただければと思います。
それの反応も教えてください。もしできれば。
はい。そして総理だけではなくてアメリカのカウンターパートとも事前に相談されたかについてのコメントをお願いします。
We chose two sites for deployment of Aegis ashore, one in Yamaguchi Prefecture, one in Akita Prefecture. And Ministry of Defense sometimes mishandled situation. We made mistakes and we weren't handling it well. And my predecessor had to visit two prefectures and make apology for that. And so the first thing I thought is, well, I need to at least inform the governors of the two prefectures before anyone else. So, and there has been some leaks about Aegis Ashore, and I don't know if you recall, governors asked a question about those leaks, and he was saying, I have not heard from anything from Ministry of Defense yet. And I didn't want to repeat that. So I just told my staff in the Ministry of Defense that we have to keep it secret until I call the governors of two prefectures. Then we can go public. And we don't know where the leaks are coming from. So I told my staff, don't inform anyone because we don't know where the leaks are coming from. So the only way to prevent that is don't tell anybody. But I did go to the Prime Minister's office and discussed with the Prime Minister and Chief Cabinet Secretary beforehand. Actually, on Friday, the Friday before my announcement, I was in Prime Minister's office, sitting with the Prime Minister and Chief Cabinet Secretary, and we finally made a decision then, and I made an announcement on, I think it was Monday afternoon, I think. So I just didn't want the governors to hear second-hand news. That's it.
How about the U.S. counterpart?
The Ministry of Defense has been discussing this issue, including this booster thing, with the United States constantly, almost every day. So they are well informed before my announcement.
George? Yeah, please. Yes, yes. That's Robin. In your
the mask.
So who is this correspondent you want?
Robin Harding from the Financial Times. Thank you for coming today. First, you said you had suspicions about Kim Jong-un's health. Could you elaborate on those suspicions at all? And second, you referred to the Chinese activity around the Senkaku Islands and also to the confrontation between Chinese and Indian troops along their border. Do you think there's any connection with these border activities of the Chinese military? And at what level within the Chinese government do you think they're directed? Thank you very much.
はい、ファイナンシャルタイムズの記者です。2つほど質問があるんですけど、先ほど北朝鮮に関して、金正恩氏の体調について疑いがあるというような話があったと思うんですけど、それについてもう少し詳しく教えていただければと思います。そして2つ目の方が、中国の尖閣諸島、そして、中国とインドの国境の方での動きについてのコメントもあったかと思うんですけれども、中国の、軍隊のこういう国境などの近辺での動きなどについての、関連があるかどうかについてのコメントをお願いします。で、それを中国の政府の中でどこのレベルでの動き、どこのレベルでの判断というふうに考えられているのかについてのコメントもお願いします。
I'm not allowed to discuss intelligence issues, including if it is intelligence issue or not. I don't know if issues around Senkaku is connected to the border issues of Indo-China, but obviously China is trying to change the status quo unilaterally in East China Sea, South China Sea, and Indian border, and Hong Kong as well. So it is easy to make connections about those issues. Chinese military is directly controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, so it has to be coming from pretty high up from in Chinese Communist Party.
Marina.
Yoshimura from the Quill Times. Thank you so much for coming to the club. So, whether it's the Aegis Ashore or other defense activities, have you considered signing reciprocal security agreements with the Five Eyes to build your military capacity instead of relying solely on security agreements with the United States? And if so, how do you plan to proceed? And if not, why not? Thank you.
イージスashoreも含めてですね、アメリカとの協定だけではなくて、ファイブアイとも協定を結ぶことを検討されているかどうかについてコメントお願いします。
Well, Japan-U.S. security treaty has been the cornerstone of our defense strategy as well as peace and stability in the region. This year marks the 60th anniversary of the treaty, and we are very happy about it. And I think this alliance hopefully will last much longer, and it would contribute to the peace and security of the region into the future. The Ministry of Defense and Self-Defense Force is trying to increase our defense cooperation and defense exchange with other countries. We are just modifying our organization so we can have more interaction with country other than the United States. We are now trying to negotiate AXA with some countries and sort of status forces agreement with some countries, and we are hoping to make more agreement on many issues concerning defense exchanges. It's not limited to just Five Eyes.
NHK News. Regarding to the preemptive strike you've mentioned, it's quite sensitive, especially when it comes to the relation with the Japanese constitution. And you said the definition of the word is quite important. So what is your definition of the preemptive strike that would not be excluded in the discussion of the NSC for coming days in March? Thank you.
先ほどでも先制攻撃の定義について話があったと思うんですけれども、やはり日本国憲法との関係でかなり非常にセンシティブな問題だと思いますので、この先生ご自身の定義を教えてください。
A lot of people use preemptive strike, meaning some kind of deterrence capability. You need to be careful when you say preemptive if it's within the international legal framework or not, and how are you going to define deterrence capability and all those things? And I've been hearing say 敵基地攻撃能力 or 反撃能力 or 打撃力 or whatever. I'm not quite sure when they say 敵基地攻撃能力 what it actually means. Does it include a preemptive strike? Preemptive. What about the preemptiveness vis-a-vis international law? So I'm not saying anything unless people actually start defining those terms before discussion, and people sort of agree when they say one word or the other word what they mean, because it's quite confusing. And I think one of the important role of Ministry of Defense is to provide information to the general public about missile defense or integrated air missile defense of Japan, and what are the threats that we are looking at, what are the options we can take, and the pros and cons of each options. So I would like to be very clear and precise about words and terms before we actually we need to define the terms to the general public, and I don't want to misuse those terms. And when we start alternative or supplement to the Aegis Ashore, we need to do the precise discussion with precise definition of the terms.
What about the ability to attack the enemy's base when, say, missile, the fuel injection starts with a missile? That's I think the very ordinary sort of a definition of a preemptive. Preemptively means so. You think it's within the frame of the Japanese Constitution to have that ability?
Well, you really have to be precise about what you actually see, and when something's happening, what are the intention of the enemy or adversary. So you cannot start discussion with just generalizing the situation. You have to be very precise about each word. Otherwise, people can cherry pick what you've been saying, and then it's going to be not just a constructive discussion, but it's just cherry picking what you say or what you didn't say or what you mean or what you don't mean. So I don't think that's the healthy discussion. So we need to start out with defining the term and what we are trying to do. So I don't think it's healthy to start about certain term or certain vocabulary. I think we need to start out with security environment and what need to be done and what are the options, and that's how you make constructive discussion about missile defense. If you start talking about what about this word, what do you mean this word, and it doesn't lead you anywhere, and I don't want to get involved in this.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Walter Sim from the Straits Times of Singapore. Thank you for coming today. Could you discuss the implications of Chinese actions to unilaterally change the status quo in the region, as I'm quoting what you said earlier, on Japanese defense policy? Thank you.
中国の最近の動きについては先ほどご発言があったと思うんですけれども、日本の国家の安全保障の戦略についてどういう影響があるのかについてお願いします。シンガポールの記者です。
Well, I think the current liberal international order doesn't allow unilateral change of status quo by force or coercion. If any country trying to do that, I think international community need to stand up and prevent that.
Okay. Kaldun? Sorry. Yeah.
Let me ask a short question. I cover every year the annual exercise shooting at Mount Fuji by the Defense Ministry, and it's really very informative, and we see the latest weapons. But it's very close to the mountain, all of these bombing. And one time I heard one little boy asking his mother why they are destroying Mount Fuji. So do you think that the location is need to be changed from is Gotemba Mount Fuji exercise every August actually?
毎年8月に富士山の近くの御殿場の方で行われている訓練を毎年取材させていただいていると思うんですけれども、させていただいてますが、富士山の非常に近いところで行われています。それについて、近所の住民からも本当に富士山こんなに近いところでやらなきゃいけないですかっていうような声があると思うんですね。御殿場このままもずっと訓練として使う予定があるかどうかについてコメントお願いします。
Yes, we will.
Thank you very much. Richard, you have a very short follow-up, and you maybe short follow-up.
Thanks, Richard Lloyd Parry from the Times again. I take your point about not discussing intelligence. So let's not talk about intelligence or non-intelligence at all. Putting all that aside, I'd still be very interested to hear in more detail what you think is up with Kim Jong-un and how far COVID-19 has spread in North Korea.
はい、答えられる範囲で大丈夫なんですけれども、やはり金正恩氏の、その体調、そして最近の動き、そして北朝鮮の中の新型コロナウイルスについてどういうふうに評価されているのかについて最後にお伺いします。
Or is it a state secret for Japan?
Well, I've been reading a press report about COVID-19 in North Korea, and I think the commander of U.S. forces in Korea also talked about that he believes that COVID-19 is already inside North Korea. I personally agree his view. We just need to estimate how widely it is spreading in North Korea. If they're shooting of the missiles lately or some military exercise, if it is to sort of change the attention of the North Korean people away from COVID-19 or not, or if it is to sort of take away the attention of North Korean people away from Kim Jong-un health or the bad harvest or bad economy. I don't have clear answer to that, but I personally believe that there are some chances it could be one of those.
Thank you.
Well, there's a lot of report about he's healthy until he's dead, and it's somewhere in between, right?
Very quickly, very short, please. This will be the last question.
Thank you again, Denise Michitakono. I have a question on China. China has complained that Tokyo and Washington seems to be discussing the deployment of the intermediate range missile, security-timed missile. So what is your reaction to China?
We have not discussed anything with Washington, D.C.
Thank you. I have to make an announcement. Our live stream just stopped 5 minutes ago. I apologize for that. I'm sorry about it. It's technicality.
They can't hear you, so. Right?
It's on the record because this session will be aired on YouTube sometime soon this evening. So please watch again. And before we end it, I would like to extend to you 1 year honorary membership.
Thank you.
Please come and invite you to our restaurant. Please remain seated until our guests leave. Thank you.